Hi everybody, hi replay viewers. This is Mia from Travelpreneur Tribe. If you would like to stick around today and find out more about trademarks and brand protection with Andrea Sager, please stay with us as I am just about to invite Andrea to join us on this call. So give me just 1 second. Okay, Andrea, if you're watching, I just tagged you. So you should get an invite in a second. Okay. All right, so while I wait for Andrea to join, I'm just going to give you a little background about Travelpreneur Tribe. And I help people start their businesses by organizing global retreats and bringing together a group of entrepreneurs and business coaches. So, hey, Andrea.
Hey, hey, how's it going?
Good. How are
I'm
you?
doing just fine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. So I was just giving the little intro, about Travelpreneur Tribe and also about you. So I know you are a brand protection attorney who is helping small businesses with brand protection and steps on how they should register and all of the details around it. So can you tell us, before we get into the details about the branding protection, can you just tell us a little about you, how you got started, and basically what your business is all about?
Yeah, so I am an attorney. I have been a practicing attorney for a little over a year now, a year and a half, and I started at a large law firm right outside of, or right in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I
Mhm.
did not enjoy it because I was just working with large businesses who it just didn't care about me and I didn't care about their business. And I really enjoyed working directly with small businesses to protect their brand. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. So shortly after being at that firm for I think only like 7 months, I left and I started my own firm. And ever since then, I've been helping small businesses protect their brands with copyrights and trademarks. So, what most people don't know, but they have some sort of copyright and or trademark to protect. So it's very important to recognize what you have in your business that needs to be protected.
Yeah. So I think that's a great, segue because I think like a lot of people don't even know the differences between the trademarks and copyright.
Right.
So, yeah, can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So just to break it down really simply, a copyright is everything that protects your creative works. So this can be your blog post, your coaching courses, your if you're a graphic designer, all of that, anything that is creative that you are creating in your business, that can be protected with a copyright. On the other hand, trademarks protect the branding of your business. That is your brand name, your logo, your slogan. Those are the most common trademarks. You can also get into trade dress and stuff like that. But the most common is your brand name, your logo, and your slogan. So anything that speaks to branding is a trademark, and then anything that speaks to creative works is a copyright.
Okay, nice. That's actually a really good way to like differentiate those two. So, what do you have usually? Let's get into like details about the trademarks, right? So, you said like the name, the logo, the slogan, any details around that. So, what do your customers usually come to you with? Like, what are their concerns? Like, and what do you help them around? Trademarks specifically.
Right. So a lot of people wait to come to me until they have an issue because they think, "Oh, I'll be fine. I don't need to file a trademark." And then they find somebody that who's either using their exact name, the exact name they're using, or a similar name, which still is trademark infringement. So they come to me when somebody's infringing, and then they're like, "Okay, help me get out of this mess." It's like, "Well, definitely I can help you, but it would have been a lot much smoother process if you would have come to me at the beginning. But that doesn't always happen. So basically, they'll come to me and they'll say, hey, this business is infringing on my trademark, or whether, because if you don't have a federal registration, you do have a common law trademark, which does provide you with some rights. Those rights vary widely. I would just have to go on all day to cover everything that it can cover. But you just know
Yeah.
that you do have some rights with a common law trademark. But when you have the actual registration, you have many more rights. You have so many more options available to you. So that's why you do want the federal registration. Because I tell people, once you have your registration, if you see an online business, say they're operating on Facebook alone, you can go to Facebook and say, "Here's my registration. They're infringing on my trademark," and Facebook will shut that page down. So,
Oh, wow. Neat.
yeah, so when you have the registration, you can essentially shut down an online business without filing a lawsuit, and you don't even necessarily have to send a cease and desist letter from an attorney. So you spend the money up front, get your WordPress website. Those platforms will shut that site down as long as you show them your registration.
Yeah. I think there's actually tools that can help you in that, like a keyword search for, like, let's say that
Hmm.
either be for your name, right, or the names of your competitors. Any that something new comes out related to that terms, you actually get alerted as well and can kind of like keep track. Are you familiar with those tools?
Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there. They vary widely, just depending on what type of protection that you're wanting. Because I also provide monitoring services to my clients, whether they have a common law trademark or a registered trademark. We can monitor everything that they have just to see if, when there is a new business that has something similar, we're always right on top of it.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Good. I think we actually just had Nicholas joining us. So, hey, Nicholas. Thanks for joining. I'm here with Andrea. We're talking about the differences between the trademarks and copyrights and why you should, protect each. So, I guess anything else on the trademarks that you want to mention, before we kind of like move on to the next one, something, that everybody should kind of like keep their eye on.
Yeah. So one of the most important parts of a trademark is actually conducting an official trademark search, because a lot of people start their business and they're so excited to get off the ground and they don't actually do their due diligence in regards to the name that they're picking. So they're like, "Oh, this is great." Maybe they'll search Google and they'll see, "Oh, I don't see anybody using it." Well, a quick Google search does not always provide you with the necessary search that you need. I'm not
Mm,
going to say it doesn't, because sometimes it can bring up, somebody else that has a similar business and you'll say, okay, I won't use this name. But just because it doesn't show up in Google doesn't mean that the name is available. So, I mean, I get new clients weekly that come to me and say, "Oh, I've been in business for a month, 2 months, 6 months, and somebody reached out to me with a cease and desist letter because they didn't know, or I didn't know that I was infringing on their trademark, whether it be a registered trademark or a common law trademark."
mm,
So they've spent. I mean, if you're in business, you've spent money on your brand. You spent money branding yourself already, whether it be time on Instagram, Facebook, on spending money getting a logo, whatever it is, you spent time and money. So
yeah,
before you even do all of that, you really do want to have an official trademark search conducted to make sure that you are in the clear and you're not wasting money.
yeah. Actually, I had a similar. So when I was doing, my research for my name, so it's like Travelpreneur Tribe, and because Travelpreneur was already taken, so I actually did reach out to the person, to buy it. Obviously, it was like a couple of thousands of dollars. I'm like, well, you know.
Yeah.
like to spend that money. So, but yeah, definitely I see, the value that it brings, especially, for the people, for the companies that are looking to scale, right? And create, like a global companies, global startups, so I can see the importance of that, but also for the small businesses, right? And, if somebody wants to like copy you or whatever. So yeah, very valuable.
Yeah, and I actually see global businesses all the time infringing on small companies because either they're so big and they think, oh, there's not going to be an issue with this, or they may think, oh, whatever, if they find out, we'll just pay them off.
Yeah.
So even if a global company infringes on your stuff, you still have rights and you can still go after them and they will still owe you a settlement. So yeah, don't back down just because it's a large company.
Yeah. Okay, good. So then moving on to the details about the copyrights, right? And that's like the logo, the blog posts, the images, or anything else that you have created, right? As
Right.
part of your creative. So can you tell us more details about that?
Yeah, so copyrights, a lot of people another big copyright issue is photographs. I didn't want to forget to mention that because you think, oh, I found this photo on Google or Pinterest. Let me just, use it for my business. Well, that's a big no-no because that is 100% copyright infringement unless you have permission from the author of the photo. And with copyrights, you actually have a lot more rights without the registration than you do with the trademark without the registration.
Mm.
So, for example, let's say that you took a photo, somebody's using it as their own for their own business, and you're like, crap, well, what do I do? So, there's a law in the US, it's called the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, and this law mandates that all of the platforms, all of the internet service providers, they have to abide by this law. It's certain safe harbor provisions, and if they abide by this, then basically you as the copyright holder cannot sue them when you sue the infringer because they've abided by the law, they've taken the necessary steps to relieve themselves of liability, so they're relieved from that lawsuit. But basically what you do is when you see an infringer using your photo or using, your blog post, whatever it may be that you own as a copyright, you can go to their website and basically submit this DMCA takedown notice. And you'll just provide some information, basically your information, the copyrighted work. It doesn't have to even have a registration. And you just give them sometimes they'll ask for a publication date, but sometimes they just want to know, they'll see your version of it, and then they want you to report and provide their version, and typically within 24 to 48 hours that content is removed. So without sending a cease and desist letter, without filing a lawsuit, you can have that content removed from the internet within a matter of 1 or 2 days just by submitting this takedown notice. And it's great because you don't have to have the registration, and it's super simple. It's a great tool to have, but you do have to be aware that some people they can the infringer can submit what's called a counter notice. So they counter to the platform and say this person filed, a fraudulent notice, or, I had the rights to it, whatever, and they can just file that. And I'm not going to say it doesn't mean anything, but basically it allows that infringer to repost the content. And it doesn't mean that they will repost the content, but it's just something to be aware of, that once they submit this counter notice, the platform has to allow them to repost it. It doesn't mean that they will, but that's just something to be aware of.
Yeah, yeah. So that's great. I mean, because yeah, a lot of you find like, a lot of people just, reposting other people's images and, making them as theirs. And it's great to know that there is a certain level of protection, even without any registration. But I guess then, in that case, what are some of the other benefits that the registration gives you? And, in what cases would you recommend somebody to actually register for the copyrights as well?
Yeah, so the registration certainly has its benefits. Not gonna lie about that. Um, and the registration honestly is not, it's not very expensive. You can file a one registration work for $55, and that's just doing it on your own. It's only $55, and it takes depends 7 to 9 months to get the registration back. But the date of the registration is effective the day that you filed it. So you have the registration. What does this mean? Is it how do I need it if I can submit these takedown requests? So it's very beneficial when you actually want to sue someone or pursue someone for a settlement. Because if you have the registration in hand before somebody infringes, or if you have filed for the registration within 3 months of the date that you publish the work, then you're eligible for what's called statutory damages. And that basically means that you you'll basically just means you'll have an easier time with the lawsuit. And then in settlement discussions, it's a very, very big bargaining chip because along with the statutory damages, they will be responsible for attorney fees as well. So basically, you're suing this person on their dime. So they have to pay you for the fees that you spent on your attorney. So it's a very big bargaining chip. A lot of times, I don't sue anybody. If it ever comes to a lawsuit, I just refer it out just because it's not something I want to deal with. And a lot of times we just end up with a settlement as it is because my clients know that most of my clients, the clients that have more copyrighted works, they have a system in place where they're constantly filing new registrations. So once we do find somebody infringing, they know that we're going to pretty much get a settlement as quickly as possible because they don't want to deal with the statutory damages. They don't want to deal with having to pay attorney fees. So it's a very, very good bargaining chip to have when you have that registration in place.
Okay, good. That's good to know. Guess one question I didn't quite understand is like you said that they keep submitting new registrations over and over. What did you mean by that? Isn't it like, let's say, if I submit a registration under like my company, which is Travelpreneur Tribe, for a copyright, wouldn't that automatically register anything that would come out of that content?
No, no. So you have to register every individual work.
Like
So
every blog,
yes.
every
So, okay.
word.
So the way around that basically would be a periodical. So there's different ways to submit like newspapers and magazines. They have their own way of doing their registrations because it's a periodical. They're published every so often, once a week, once a day, whatever. So that's different. But I have, let's see, I have a couple of t-shirt designers and they come out with new t-shirt designs maybe once a week, several a month. So they are constantly filing for those t-shirt designs to have a registration.
How about a blog, right? Like, let's say I write a blog, like once a week,
Right, so that would most likely be covered under the periodicals. There's certain requirements that you must meet according to the copyright website, and as long as you meet those, then you can have the periodical registration. And it's I don't remember the price, but you can certainly it you don't have to pay $55 for every blog post that you post. Yeah.
I would imagine that they have a better way how to manage
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I haven't dealt with anybody registering blog posts, but I do register websites. So everything on your website can be covered by copyright. And for that content, I typically tell clients every six months or once a year, we'll file a new registration just to keep everything up to date on your website. Make sure
So
all
in
that's
those
registered.
cases, you would have to submit another $55 for the registration.
Yes, but that's just for your website. So if you're updating content, maybe you've got a new
Courses,
product,
yeah, or
yeah, yeah, and the courses, like all of that, you want to make sure that's up to date, just to make sure all of that's covered under the registration.
I see. Okay. So it looks like there's a lot of maintenance work with it. It's not just kind of like a one-time setup and like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah, if you're somebody that's constantly producing new creative works, then you definitely have to keep up with your registrations.
Hmm.
But
And
my
just
client, yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say my clients who I work with on a regular basis who have a lot of copyrighted works, we basically have a system in place where most of them will file on their own because I charge um, typically I charge 250 if they're just getting started and they have a lot of works to register, then I do a bulk rate. But the just the registration fee is only $55. So most of the time I'll do a one-on-one training with them to teach them step by step what to do. That way they can go in and do all the registrations themselves. They don't have to pay me every single time to register. So that's kind of a good system that a lot of my clients have with me.
Yeah, nice. And just curious, how much is to register the trademark?
So if you're not working with an attorney, the cheapest is $225. That's just the application fee. That doesn't include well, that includes the application fee. If you're working with an attorney, my cheapest application is 1,650, but that includes the trademark search. It includes the official search. It includes responses to non-substantive office actions. So sometimes the trademark examining attorney will reach out and say, hey, we need this information or that information, and those responses are included. So you don't have to spend more money on that. But then there are some other responses that do require an extra fee just because they're a lot more in depth.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yep.
So, anything else that we messed around, like the trademarks and copyrights? Anything else, key points that you would like to share? Or on a high level, this is basically it. I mean, obviously, I know there's so many details, right?
Right,
I'm
right.
sure you
Yeah.
have all of that information, for whoever wants to find out more. But on a high level, anything else that you would like to point out?
Well, for trademarks, one thing I do want to point out, because a lot of people don't realize this, is if you have a similar name as someone else, it could still be trademark infringement. It doesn't matter if there's a different spelling or if there's maybe one word added or one word removed, then it could still be copy or trademark infringement.
Mm,
So that's why I really try to push the search on people because like I said, so my search is $350. Now, that might be a lot of money to some people, but you'd rather spend $350 up front instead of spending thousands of dollars branding and, getting your business off the ground and then come to find out a couple of months later that you've been infringing on someone else's trademark and you have to rebrand again. So, yeah, you have to be aware of what trademark infringement actually is. And sometimes it's hard to say it's easy to say yes, this is trademark infringement. It's harder to say no, this is not infringing on any trademark because sometimes it just depends. So, but having that search run will provide you with any insight to any names that you might be infringing on. So that's
yeah.
where the search really gets to be important.
Yeah, I guess so for anybody, right? When they're starting their company, right? Like, I mean, I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking like I was struggling with a name when I was starting.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that others that are starting their companies, even when they don't have a name, right? Like, I know that they're not thinking about protecting it. They're like just happy that they figured out the name and that they can,
Yeah.
you know, start going and building their companies. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Okay. So, I mean, just to ask you, thanks for sharing all of the information, about trademarks, copyrights. I know it was very useful for me. I hope Nicholas, he's still watching, so that it was useful for him as well. But I'm actually curious, for you, you said, you're a new business owner as well. So, what were some of the challenges or some of the things that you struggle with, like building your company? And what are some of the tips that you have for somebody besides what we just talked about related to the copyrights and trademarks, but more from like a business owner perspective, what is some of the advice that you would have for people that are just starting out?
So let's see, gosh. I think it's really important to not be afraid to do the work because so many people like they're so excited and then they're like, "Oh man, but I have to do this, 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 and this, and this." Well, just get it done. Like the time will pass, you'll get it done, and before you know it, you'll be a successful business. And obviously not everybody is going to be a successful business, but it's I think persistence is probably one of the most important keys to being and to having a successful business.
Yeah, persistency and also, in my opinion, right, pivoting, right? So like
Yeah,
you know, like when you should change your business model, right? When
right,
like look into things, that doesn't mean just because, oh, if you envisioned it, this way doesn't work, that doesn't mean, that it might not work some other way. And that's when people, I find, they really give up. Well, it doesn't work. I tried. Well, yeah,
right.
try another way and keep going, and you until you figure out the way. So,
Yeah, yeah. So when I started out with my own firm, I had another business and I sold that and then I started my firm and I actually was doing more than copyrights and trademarks. I wasn't trying to be a generalist as like, oh, I'll do whatever you need me to do as an attorney. I knew I wanted to do intellectual property, but I was also trying to do more contracts and general counsel issues. But now that I'm really, really niching down on copyrights and trademarks, it's really starting to pay off because people are identifying me as an expert in copyrights and trademarks. Once you establish, because I'm essentially just establishing myself as an expert. Like I'm not asking anybody for permission. I'm just putting out the content, putting out the
yeah,
blog post, and people see consistency on my blog and they're like, oh, this girl knows what she's talking about, whether I do or not. But
yeah.
I know more than them. So to them, I'm an expert and it's really working. So,
Yeah, that's really important, and also as when you're starting your business, it's really important to have that niche, right? So
yeah,
like you said, like you started and you wanted to do this and this and attract all of these people, and then you almost like attracted none, right? But when you
right,
really got specific, in the things like first, like what you were passionate about, but also, where you saw that there's a need, and then you grab that specific area, and all of a sudden it is also much easier to position yourself as an expert in the niche versus
right.
expert in everything lawyer.
Yeah, yeah.
So good. Okay, so one more question for you. What are some of the resources that you found like very useful for you starting out, either as like a business owner or as having related to copyrights and trademarks? A book that you would recommend for somebody who's interested in that area that they can just go and grab and basically find out more information about it.
So I think a very, very helpful book for new business owners is Profit First.
Profit
Um,
first. I like the sound of it.
yeah,
Where's
yeah.
that?
It's by Mike McAllowitz, and he really teaches you how to pay yourself, set aside your profit in your business, and he really does a great job of teaching how to set up your business as far as the money, because he tells you how to set up, how to pay for taxes, how to set aside for profit, payroll, expenses, all that stuff. And it's a great book. It'll get you, especially as a new business owner, it'll get you off on the right foot.
All right, great. Thanks
Yeah.
for the recommendation. And then for the folks that are watching and for the folks that are gonna watch the replay of this, Andrea is going to post a template that is a brand protection cheat sheet that actually outlines the differences for you. What are the differences between the trademarks and the copyrights? And if you need help, in any of those areas, you can reach out to her, and you can just post, all of your links with the best way to reach you. And I guess that's it. Anything
Perfect.
You, Andrea?
Nope, I don't think so.
Okay, sounds good. Well, thanks for joining and thanks for watching, everybody. My name is Mia. I am the owner of Travelpreneur Tribe, and we help people start and grow their businesses by bringing you all of these industry experts and coaches in various areas to you. So, thanks for watching again, and please feel free to share with your followings to make sure that everybody knows exactly what to do with trademarks and copyright. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.